I just watched Spider-Man Brand New Day, and I've come to one very scientific conclusion. Our nervous system would absolutely hate being Spider-Man. Forget the villains, forget getting punched through buildings. I'm talking about the emotional damage. Because after watching Peter Parker across the last 4 films, I genuinely think he needs therapy more than he needs more web fluid. And the more I thought about this, the more I realized that Peter's biggest battle was never really with the villains in the film. It was with grief. And somewhere around halfway through Brand New Day, I realized something about Peter. Something I don't think this movie is getting enough credit for. Throughout Brand New Day, Peter keeps trying to move forward. But every time it feels like life is finally giving him something to hold on to, something changes. Another goodbye, another loss, another future disappears. And I found myself asking, why was I relating more to Peter sitting quietly with his thoughts than watching him swing through New York? And it wasn't until later that I realized why. Because I don't actually think Brand New Day is a superhero movie. Yes, of course, there's massive action sequences, there's the Hulk, and plenty of things go boom. But at its core, it's a story about becoming someone new after life takes away the person you thought you were going to be. Peter doesn't just lose people. He loses futures, he loses certainty, he loses his identity. Throughout the film, he is constantly confronted by a life that no longer resembles the one he imagined. And if you've been alive for more than about 12 minutes, you probably know exactly what that feels like. Maybe it wasn't a radioactive spider that bit you. Maybe it wasn't Doctor Strange casting a spell and everyone forgetting who you were, like Peter experiences. But maybe it's the relationship that ended, the career that fell apart, the diagnosis, the friendships changing, or a dream quietly dying. Or simply the moment you realize your life wasn't going to look the way you'd always imagined. Because here's the thing about grief. We think we're grieving loss, but often we're grieving the version of ourselves that existed inside the future we thought we'd have. The relationship we'd already imagined 5 years ahead. The business or job we thought that was going to work. The life that only ever existed in our imagination until reality politely kicked in the front door, which seems to be reality's favorite hobby. And that's exactly what I saw Peter wrestling with throughout Brand New Day. Not just the people he'd lost, but the future he'd already started living inside his mind. For all of us, whenever something big changes, our brain immediately starts searching for the old map. Can we just go back? Can we undo all of this? I don't like this update. It's basically your nervous system standing at customer service, holding a receipt, saying, I'd like to return this life experience, please. Unfortunately, though, life has a very strict no refund policy. And I think that's one of the hardest lessons Peter keeps running into throughout Brand New Day. Our nervous system doesn't necessarily want what's best for us. It wants what's familiar. The nervous system is basically an old friend who keeps recommending that you get back together with your ex because at least you know what you're getting into. And it does this not because familiar is always good for us, but because familiar is predictable. It has predictable rules. And even if those rules hurt, that's what we default to. So after loss, we spend so much energy trying to become who we were before the breakup, before the burnout, before the diagnosis, before the grief, before everything that changed. But Brand New Day made me realize maybe that's the wrong question. Maybe the question isn't, how do I get my old life back? Maybe it's, who is this loss inviting me to become? Peter doesn't become this version of Spider-Man despite the loneliness or the longing or the grief. He becomes this version through them. The losses don't just happen to him, they shape him. They make him more compassionate, more courageous, more present. Not because suffering magically makes people better, it doesn't. Plenty of people become bitter or numb or spend years trying to outrun what happened or even start a YouTube channel in their mid-30s. Growth isn't guaranteed. It's a choice. It's choosing not to let pain become the author of your story, but letting it become one of the editors of your story instead. And I think that's an important distinction because there's a version of self-development that says everything happens for a reason. And I'm not entirely convinced. Sometimes bad things just happen. There's no hidden lesson, no cosmic PowerPoint presentation explaining why. But we do get to decide who we become in response. That's where the power lies for each of us. By the end of Brand New Day, Peter hasn't got his old life back. The people he's lost are still gone. The future he imagined still doesn't exist. But something has changed. Not his circumstances, him. And maybe that's what the title Brand New Day actually means. Not pretending yesterday never happened. Not erasing the grief. Not getting your old life back. But slowly becoming the kind of person who no longer needs yesterday to become tomorrow. Maybe that's why this movie resonated with me so much, because it's not really about superheroes. It's about us. About trying to find our footing after life quietly rewrites the script. About realizing that the person you're becoming might be someone your old self could have never imagined. So if you're in one of those seasons where everything feels unfamiliar, where you're desperately trying to get back to who you used to be, maybe, just maybe, you don't need your old life back. Maybe your nervous system is still searching for a home that doesn't exist anymore. And that's okay. Because after watching Spider-Man Brand New Day, I don't think home is always somewhere you return to. Sometimes home is someone you become. And if a radioactive spider ever offers to bite you, politely decline. I've seen enough from Peter to know that none of us need that much character development.